Okay, welcome to another stream in the same day because I still have more paintings to get done. I think I've introduced myself on most of the other streams I've done, but I'm happy to answer questions. And I've got a whole bunch of streaming events I'm attending tonight. But first, I'm going to try to get one more painting done today. And it is the painting of this dragon who has knocked over a cup of tea and is attacking the tea bag. So that's what I'll be working on. It's a cup of Earl Grey tea, which has a very specific color to it. So I'm going to try to get that correct, hopefully, in the painting. So if anyone tunes in and has questions, I am happy to answer them. Hi, Ninja Ferret. I have this kind of muted where I can push to talk because for some reason my window is open and all of the dogs in our neighborhood decided to start barking about 2 minutes ago, but they're quieting down now, hopefully. Hopefully, you are having a good day. I figured I'd do a little streaming before everybody starts DJing tonight since I've got to get a couple more paintings done always. Usually have a stack of about 10 or 15 on my to-do list or that I'm middle of, so figured it was time to throw a little color on this guy. This morning I painted a lemon and lime griffin. That was really fun. Um, and Danielle says I have to do a strawberry kiwi dragon, so I think that might be next on the list after this guy. Oh, you've had audio issues. What are you using for audio? Like a headset microphone, or is it just background noise? I had to play around with mine for a while and then play around completely differently with my camera here to try to get the audio at a good level. So, um, and then it also depends on, I guess, if you're streaming music, that's complicated. And my boyfriend streams video games a little bit, so that's a whole separate thing and different software. And Oh, you just have to mute the computer audio, but not the headset audio. I actually mute my computer audio when I'm streaming. I don't know which software you're using to stream, but Twitch Studio, which I'm using, which I'm sure would be different if you're on something else, but I'm using just like their basic one because it works really well for streaming art stuff. I know a lot of other people use other programs, but they should all have something that lets you mute. Oh, no, you figured it out. Yeah, he uses OBS as well, um, which I gather works a lot better for video games. But for me, I'm either using a camera feed or I am streaming the screen when I'm doing digital painting, but it's a separate screen, so it's a little bit easier for me to use Twitch Studio for that. Are you going to be streaming games? And if so, what games? So way back in the day, I used to actually be able to play some of the first-person shooter games before they got to basically pre-Xbox 360. I could play more of them, and then with that, and then all the newer PC stuff, they're just too 3D, and my motion sickness kicks in way too hard. But back in my late teens, we used to. It's kind of complicated to explain. We had a huge LAN in our house, about 30 computers networked together because my parents had a business in the house. So we had huge Quake LAN parties, which was both good and bad because my brother would just decide we were done for the night and just mess with the gravity in Quake, and so we would all end up floating up and then crashing down from a high height and dying terribly until we stopped playing. So that was his way of getting us to stop playing. But I haven't really played Halo that much because it just makes me too motion sick, sadly. And I also have limited time for games, so mine's pretty much limited to some Path of Exile, which Daniel keeps saying I should stream because I can't talk to myself when I'm playing anyway, and I'm experimenting with bizarre builds in it. And I also play a lot of Sims. I am a large Sims fan. And what makes Path of Exile cool if you're like an RPG fan at all is that it's not class locked. So it's one giant skill tree with like thousands and thousands, I'm not exaggerating, of skills that any character can learn. And all you do when you pick a starting class is it defines kind of the overall build and gender of your character and then where you start on that skill tree. Which basically means that if you want to make a witch that wields a broadsword and a shield, you can. The character I've been building is a shadow class character, and I guess the big difference with the classes is they ascend. So they ascend into different specialties. And I have this bizarre. Usually, shadow characters you make them kind of assassins, but mine is a wizard. Which I read a couple of people. I read like 6 different builds people had done, and I was like, that sounds really cool. I've never done a magic user in the game, so I've been experimenting with that. And it's this bizarre combination of skills that should completely break things, but somehow somehow works. Where you get skills that change it so that your magic, instead of using your mana, first comes from like you have an energy shield in the game. Normally, your energy shield takes damage before your life takes damage, but you can get a skill that changes it so that your spells come from your energy shield rather than your mana, and then There are skills you can do to greatly increase your energy shield that in combination basically mean you have like an endless battery, which is cool. Yay! A wild rainbow has appeared. Hi, Rainbow Phoenix. I'm just doing some painting before Madame Askew's birthday party and Plastic Disease's Halloween stream all kick in tonight, which I think I'm going to somehow do both at once because they're both doing fun things tonight. And I think this is actually going to end up being a blue dragon since I haven't painted many of those for the book. Did you survive your getting up at 4:30, I think it was? I know you get up really early for work. Do you get days off now because there's less work or they hired more people or what? You work at Circle K now? And that would just make endless Bill and Ted jokes um, about that because I saw Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure many years ago, and then I moved to Arizona. And the thing is, if you're from the East Coast, we don't have Circle K's there, or at least didn't where I grew up. So I was thinking they just made them up for the movie as a kid. So when I saw one, I got terribly excited, and my dad thought something was really wrong with me because he'd never seen the movie and had no idea why I kept saying something was afoot at the Circle K. That's cool. As long as you're safe. Sometimes the late shifts at convenience stores can be kind of scary, but days off are very good. So if you get called in and it's not your day off, you have to do the whole "I'm not even supposed to be here today" thing for like the entire shift, or I will disown you as a friend because you're just not doing it right. Oh man, the one in Morena's really far away. That sucks. So I feel like this is one of those things where you'd see the picture and you'd think it's really cute, but if it actually happened, you'd be pretty mad. If you made a nice cup of tea and then a dragon came and knocked it over and attacked your tea bag rapidly. I see we got 3 people tuning in, so if you guys have any questions about what I'm doing, some of my streams I'm making more formal and we're setting up events for them and I'm promoting them, and those ones I'm doing sort of more step by step instructional things, and then a lot of the others now I'm just sort of grabbing my work and showing you guys kind of what the day-to-day stuff I have to get done is when it comes to painting. I'd stream the other day-to-day stuff I do, but it's really boring. I was actually drawing in books all afternoon after I made cake. And we had tasty cake a little while ago, so it came out pretty good. Well, that's good that you already knew most of the morning staff there. And definitely having coworkers you get along with really helps with the job. Because if you have coworkers you don't get along with, it can get very uncomfortable. And I'm my only coworker and my own boss, so that can be good and bad. um, as Daniel says, I have the toughest boss in the world. And I think it's such a challenge of trying to be disciplined when you work for yourself, but also then not working yourself into the ground, so then you have to take time off and not get work done. Yeah, it was good cake. We were gonna have it during Jocelyn's birthday party stream, but we broke down and cut it like half an hour ago and had some cake. We had cake and milk, and we watched some more of the new Shaun the Sheep that Netflix has put out, which I think is their best season of that show yet. So that's my one of my all-time favorite shows. Shaun's kind of my hero. Yes, my hero was a sheep. But as an artist, I absolutely love that show because all of the storytelling is done without dialogue. I mean, they talk, but they just sort of mumble and make sounds. So it's very much visual storytelling, which I think is really cool. And most of the episodes are pretty short. They're maybe 15, 20 minutes. So it's a good thing to watch when you're having lunch or those sorts of things. They just put it up. And it's pretty cool that Netflix decided to sponsor a whole new season of it. I was a little heartbroken that we had a second Shaun the Sheep movie last year and we did not get it in theaters here again. So I finally get to see it, but it's not the same. I really wanted to see that one in theaters, but the Loft didn't even get it, so I don't know what happened there. I guess not that many people other than me want to see claymation sheep movies on the big screen. But we only had milk with our cake. We saved our bubbly booze for later. We're going to have pink bubbly wine and listen to spooky Halloween songs and watch a movie with our friend whose birthday it is online via Netflix. And we've already seen the movie a bunch, so we figured we would just mute the movie and listen to the stream, but also be able to chat with everybody at both events. And then later tonight, another friend of ours is DJing. So it seems like there's actually more to do now than there was because we couldn't always go out before. So it's kind of nice that there's a lot of online options. And I hope some of them kind of stay around when we go back to normal. So I'm not going to make this guy just this boring kind of monochrome blue. I'm just getting his base colors in there. He looks pretty good, I think. I think my camera is focusing enough for you guys. I hope my camera's focusing enough. And I've been trying to decide if the mug should just be the color inside the mug is because um, it was full of tea, so it's kind of all stained up, and I'm going to put a bit more shadow kind of towards the back or bottom of the mug for sure. And it was full of Earl Grey tea, so I was looking at actually photos. I mean, I'm sure I have someone could brew it, but I was looking at photos to see kind of what color it looks like. And then hopefully everybody is having a good day and surviving all the weirdness out there. I think the weird thing for me is it's not that different from my day-to-day life. And I actually heard my coffee shop is going to reopen for to-go orders on the 7th. I think it's the 7th or 8th. I can't remember. So I'm very excited about that because while I can make coffee here, I really, really miss Le Buzz so bad. They've been there for well over 20 years. Oh, you're grinding in Warframe tonight. I could be grinding in Path of Exile, but I'm trying to be good. But I made it to, I think I'm level 75 now, and the level cap's 90. Or no, the level cap's 100. I've actually never made it much past 90. But every time I do a character, I get better. So I was mentioning when you joined the stream that my character I've been building in there is kind of broken. I mean, she's not he, I guess, since he's a shadow and they're only male in appearance. But with all the weird gear I have on him, you can't really tell the gender. But he's not very, he doesn't have a lot of health, but he can kill things pretty easily, and he pretty much has endless mana thanks to a weird combo of skills I gave him, um, which is kind of cool. Now I'm trying to decide what's gonna look good color-wise on this guy. I don't think I want to go too into greens, so I made his eye green. I'm gonna go into purples. Yeah, that's pretty good. But yeah, every time they do a new league in Path of Exile, they essentially are launching new features on a separate server. And then you get prizes in the league if you do certain things with characters in there, complete certain tasks. But essentially, you're testing out everything that's new and letting them balance it and giving them feedback. So it's a cool way for them to beta test new features and reward the players who play that way before they integrate into the main server. But they've now done this so many times that the game has so many features in it. It's really cool. There's just so many different types of encounters you can get. The current league is called Delirium, and you encounter these weird, giant sort of fragmented mirror distortions. I guess is the only way I know how to describe it. Um, just when you're running along in the game normally, and when you run through them, the world around you it's the same level, but it gets very gray and very very foggy. And then creatures appear out of nowhere and attack you, which is super fun. And you hear really creepy voices telling you things. I'm trying to figure out whose voice it is. I was trying not to look at spoilers. I don't know if anyone's figured that out, if it's something with character lore from the game. They tell you things like you can't trust anyone, and it's probably why it's called Delirium League. It's kind of creepy, but I've been enjoying playing it. Everything they really do with that game and all their games are really high quality. And then the game I'm waiting for it to come out of beta. I tried to sign up for beta, but it's closed beta and they haven't invited me. So I'm waiting for Torchlight 3. I'm a huge Torchlight fan. And it is going to include pets and it's including engineering classes and things like that. So I'm really excited for that one. And I kind of limit my game time. I have certain work goals I have to meet, everyday paintings I have to get done before I can either attend dance streams or play games. I see it rather than like you have to get this done to do this is sort of like if I get this done, I get a reward for completing it. So it's a motivating thing. And I try to balance out how much of my work is really mentally draining as far as writing or design, and how much of it is just the fun stuff like coloring like this. I mean, the writing and design is fun too, but it's definitely more draining. This book is going to be a lot more nonsensical along the lines of dessert dragons because I'm designing it to kind of, I think the beverage book should kind of pair with the dessert book. So it should be a little easier to write because most of my books I do a ton of research for. Dessert Dragons was just very, I don't know, I'd say kind of like somewhere between Charlie and the Chocolate Factory and Dr. Seuss as far as the creatures and things in it. Maybe channeling a little Douglas Adams in there. Um, so I think I'll have to do a little research because some of the creatures I'm including, like the cactus cat, are real legends, but a lot of the book's just going to be really funny. And it seems like a good time to be doing something funny to cheer folks up. And I'm really happy with how many different friends I have who are, well, different DJs who I've become friends with, and this has helped me to become even better friends with them. But how many of them are just providing different types of music? I was really happy we had kind of like an anime night last night. We had one of our favorite nights was the funky dance night that Mojito DJ'd. That was awesome. uh, I made sure to snag that playlist since I liked every song on it and I didn't know what some of them were. Oh, thank you. She's saying she loved dessert dragons. Oh, that's so nice of you to give the playmat to your mom. I find a lot of people come back and buy things because they've given stuff they got for themselves away as a gift to somebody who really liked it, and that's, I think, really cool. I don't know, I'm hoping that, I mean, I do some serious art, I do some more comical art. I think this falls somewhere kind of in the middle, but I think what I really hope is that I can bring people to a happier, cheerier place, maybe spark their imaginations, whether they're a kid or an adult. There's so much serious stuff out there in the world, and especially a lot of the trend with fantasy has been really serious. So I think it's important to have something a little more lighthearted, something that makes people wonder, well, what if that's what happened to my socks? Maybe a dragon took them, or things along those lines. This guy looks way too happy about destroying this cup of tea. Wondering if I should put a couple cracks in the cup too, or if that's too mean to the poor teacup. I don't think you can ever have too many play mats. I mean, if we get some that, I don't know, get damaged or stained or just wrinkled too much in a box, I'll save them and use them for things here. Though honestly, you can just wash them anyway. It's kind of an excuse. And I've been really happy with the quality of the play mats I've been able to get with my art on them. Um, just because they are washable and they last. And I think if someone's buying something with my art on it to use for a playmat or mousepad, I want it to last at least a reasonable amount of time. I know a few people who have worn out mousepads, but that's because there are some people when they game, they get very intense and they press down really hard on the mouse. And after a while, you can wear out pretty much any mouse pad doing that. So I think lasting 2 or 3 years is pretty good if someone's using it like that. The one I have here, I've probably been using for 4 years, and I don't press down that hard on my mouse, I guess. I don't know. But I'm really happy I found ways to do a lot of different things with my art on them. Um, Playmats aren't as affordable for me to have made as like prints, obviously, because one's on a piece of paper and one is a whole process of getting it on fabric with rubber backing. But there we go. So the question is, should this be a white cup or should this be a colored mug? I mean, if it's a white cup, I'll still put shading on it. And I've been watching my Twitch followers kind of count up. I think I'm at 40 and I need 50 and to stream on one more day to get the affiliate, which lets me do a little bit more with the account. So that's not too bad. I'm still in my first week, so I'm trying. I don't think I'm quite as good at this as like people who've been doing it for years. Um, but I also noticed there weren't that many people streaming watercolor on Twitch, so at least I can kind of add to that. You get what good with a little color? I think so too. I'm trying to decide. I don't want to do a really clashy color. I think I might make it like green. Oh, that's what Rainbow Phoenix just said. Like green, maybe. Yeah, I think because then it will tie into the little bit of green I have on him in his eye and stuff. So I think I probably put too much color inside the mug too. I got a little carried away and I should have left a little more white showing if this tea mostly got spilled out. But it's actually one of the wonderful things about watercolor is you can kind of lighten it out a bit. And I can also just add some white in with my white acrylic when I'm ready to do that. I mean, it's not a bad thing because it was a mug full of tea. I just wanted to have it have a little more depth. I guess it kind of does. I see it a lot closer up, so looking at it on the screen, I'm like, oh no, it looks pretty good. You have to, yeah, I'm way above that for that. You have to have Rainbow Phoenix things have an average of 3 viewers, like per session for the month, and I had a couple that went up to 10 when we did like the more promoted events. So I've actually hit all of the goals. I think, except I need to stream on one more separate day. So if I stream tomorrow or the day after, something like that, and then I need to hit 50 followers, so it's not bad. The other one where you have to have stream for 24 hours is going to take 25 hours, or it's going to take me a long time to hit that one probably. Though I do paint like 18 hours a day sometimes, so I guess I could just be around painting all the time for people who want to watch. Yeah, it would be a dark in the back just from the shadow, and because this mug is green, I don't know if it's green on the inside though. It might just be one of those ones that's green outside. I think I actually have one that's green with white on the inside. So I'm not going to make this too dark green either. I don't think it needs to be. Um, and one of the things I get asked about in streaming is the size of brushes that I use, how I don't change brush sizes that often. When I started painting, I would change brush sizes a ton. But as I painted more and more, I became uh, more dexterous and it's easier for me to control the brush. So I can do like more small areas with a larger brush and things like that. That's just practice. A lot of it is practice. We were laughing this morning because we had someone new in the chat and I asked who it was and she said, I gave birth to your boyfriend. And I was like, oh, it's my boyfriend's mom, who's really nice. So that was cool. And my boyfriend's little brother was watching too. He's an awesome kid. So that was kind of neat. They're kind of on the other side of town. So good to know they're doing okay. We've been calling them and stuff. But it was kind of nice they could tune into to a stream and see what I was up to for a little bit this morning. And I'm trying to stream at different times of day and vary it up too because of the time zone differences for a lot of people. We had somebody from Scotland in this morning, so it was at 9 here. It was like 5 there already, I think. So it's starting to look like a mug. Yeah, I got my followers a little faster because I have like a mailing list and some stuff to promote on. So I'm able to get some. But I emailed the mailing list to like 2,000 people, and I have like 35 followers. So maybe it's not that good a ratio. I think a lot of people are still figuring Twitch out. And I don't really mind if I don't have that many. It was more I wanted to make those goals so I could offer more options. I think when you get, and I could be wrong about this, but when you get the higher levels as a creator, it's easier to export your videos directly to YouTube because right now I have to download a copy and then upload them to YouTube if I want to also have them there. And I know Twitch won't keep them more than 14 days, so that's cool. It is pretty cool, and family can tune in. I mean, I don't really have any family anymore, but I can kind of hijack my boyfriend's family a little. They're a little nutty, but they're all really nice. His great grandmother had something like 12 children, so his family is huge. And my parents were pretty much only children, and then I don't really talk to my immediate family right now. It's kind of a complicated situation. Uh, where my life is much more peaceful without them, but it's a little bit sad. So I don't really wish them harm. I don't really wish ill on anybody. I just am in a better place in my life without people making crazy for me, especially when the crazy turned into legal crazy. Yeah, I don't feel a need to save them up for 60 days because I do YouTube videos as well. So I'm just going to add them to my YouTube. I think 14 days is fine. Um, I figured I'd add them to my permanent YouTube collection of videos. Um, and then, as you know, as a subscriber, because I know you're a subscriber on my Patreon, I also do videos for that. I'm debating what I want my next one to be. Though I discovered it's easier to record videos for that using the Twitch app and just not stream it, just record it. Because it works better than the app I was using for recording before that, which would record in a format that my video editing software didn't like. So I would have to record and then convert the format. So it kind of saves me a few steps. Thank you. I think this is, I want to say it's Viridian Hue. It's kind of a blue-green. The other color you'd probably like is Peacock Green, which is also really pretty. I think it's actually a little greener than it's showing up on the computer. I think it's because of the lighting in here, and I'm using a light, but I don't know if there's a temperature control I can see in in my camera software here. I know there's saturation. I think I finally figured out where the sharpness control is. That's useful. There's like a focus control, but I guess there's also a sharpness control. Wow, I did not know that. That's weird. But there doesn't seem to be anything for really adjusting. The colors were looking correct earlier today, but I think it's because it's so gray outside. It looks a little bit bluer, a green on the screen than it is. Yeah, I'm not going to get it to look better. Well, it's close enough. Yeah, I don't like to do. I mean, you can do things like I could have made it red, but it would have pulled a lot of attention away from him. And I guess I should dig out my old environment design stuff and do a tutorial video on that more than I did with just the digital tree painting I streamed. But I used to do one with someone walking in the jungle, and I would give them a bright red umbrella to show how to pop the attention of the viewer there. There's like a ton of things you can do. My paper is rippling a little bit here. There we go. There's a ton of things you can do to draw the eye of the viewer to certain areas. But interestingly enough, even if you do all of those things with color, if there is an eye of an animal or a person that they can recognize in a drawing or painting, that will always be the focal point. And they showed us some really cool things when I was in color and design class where artists had done paintings with like 50 people in it. And all of the people were looking at a teeny tiny object that didn't seem very important, but because all of the characters in the painting were looking there, that became the focal point. And as soon as you looked at the painting, that was the first thing you looked at. You looked to see what the characters in the painting were looking at, which I thought was really cool. And I'm very happy that I took some color and design classes, and then also read some books on it, because I drew and painted for many years before I learned any of the technical stuff. But I think at some point you start to get curious. You want to know why things work as focal points, why things work in certain color schemes or combinations. So I really enjoyed learning all of that. And our teacher was really weird, which made me very happy. She liked to kind of mess with the class a little bit, which I thought was fun. She gave us our midterm and then said time was up about 3 minutes later, and then was like, no, I'm just messing with you guys. And actually, our midterm was just a list of 10 questions on a piece of paper. So if you've been paying any attention in the class, you were good. Because they were questions like, what's a complementary color and what is contrast? But I guess there were still people who didn't pay attention, which I thought was kind of sad. And down here, the color is going to look a little bit different because it's actually got tea spilling over it, which I'm fine with. Since tea is kind of transparent, I want a little bit of that green to show, but I actually want it to kind of have a different look to the color there. And then I feel like for the tea bag, I need to kind of blend it down a bit more because tea bags do not stay white. So I'm going to put some shadows on it. On the actual tea that makes all this color is pretty dark. I don't know how I got started doing coffee and tea dragons. It just sort of happened. And then after dessert dragons, people kept asking me, when was I going to do an entire book of the coffee and tea dragons? And more importantly, when was I going to do wine and beer dragons? So, of course, it's not just dragons in the book. There's a peppermint tea pixie. And I feel like I have to put some dwarves somewhere in the book because there's dwarven ale. That's pretty notorious in most fantasy things. You'll notice I don't usually care too much about staying entirely in my lines because it's pretty easy to correct things in watercolor later. I needed drinks with the desserts, so the desserts made me really hungry the whole time I was painting them. So probably we do need drinks with the desserts. Though drinks and beverages is definitely kind of being stretched for what it means when it comes to this book, because I'm including like cactus cats, and I'm including definitely going to include some mystical types of drinks and some fairy beverages that you should not drink. That looks a bit better. Kind of looks like a tea bag now. And it's funny, you can get used to painting one sort of thing for a while, and then when I first started doing dragons like this, what I had to keep looking at reference for was cups. And what does a teacup or a mug look like on its side? You know, what does it look like tipped over? I was always trying to figure that. I think I've gotten a lot better at them. Mine aren't usually perfect, but I don't think anyone really wants them to be. I think my light's reflecting a little bit there. There we go. No, you don't want to need the light bar in the way. There we go. And I'm definitely going to put some highlights and things into this as well. And I think I'm going to put a little bit of color very lightly around the outside here too. And I actually had to develop an entire process when I did my first field guide for not just scanning these, but removing the white background, because I put a parchment background into the books, and having that look correct and not having that be a very time consuming process. And now it's like second nature to me to do that, but there was definitely a lot of trial and error the first few books. I had to entirely learn InDesign around book 3, because what I was doing previously to lay out books wasn't working well enough. And then later I had to entirely learn Kindle comic book creator, because that's what I use to make the Kindle versions of my books, because the text is positioned very specifically as part of kind of the layout with the images. So I have to treat it like it's a picture book or a comic book when it gets ported to Kindle. And that program is very finicky. Once you know how to use it, it's really fast. Maybe takes me half an hour to convert a book over from my PDF file to like a Kindle file that will work correctly. But the first time I used it, there was like 3 days of me screaming and tearing my hair out. And so I feel like as a creator, I always tell people, you know, you can love art and you can be an amazing artist, but if you want to learn the business side of things, that's a whole other thing. And you either have to learn that if you're doing the sort of stuff I do, or you have to have an agent or a partner or a company working with you, or that you hire to do all of the PR and those things. And fortunately, I worked in graphic design before this, so I know a lot about laying things out and editing them and making them look pretty good. I still have the occasional issues with print. Oh, thank you. Thank you guys. I'm being told that you guys love the layering of the color on this. I mean, that's just practice with watercolor. Since this is already a blue-green, I can layer some blue over it to kind of add some highlights. And because my background's a little blue, it might be reflected a little in this cup. I think it makes it more interesting. Yeah, I used to be really worried about doing things all correctly, and it made the pieces look too clean. And so I try to be a little more organic with how I paint now. And yeah, perfection is over. The more perfect I try to make pieces, the less that people have wanted to buy them. The messier I am, and kind of the more personality I give things, I think people like it better. So that's been something I've had to learn to let go a little bit. Yeah, I had cactus cats. In one of my more serious field guides, I have them in earth dragons because they're an earth creature. But because they're so directly related to drinking, I felt like I had to include them in this book as well. And they're one of my favorite legends because they're a legend here where I live now. Well, they're kind of a legend everywhere in the Southwest, but anywhere with cactuses, obviously, because they're cactus cats. And anytime I hear weird noises out in the desert at night, I always think it's a cactus cat getting drunk out there. I think that's great. I think we know a lot of European legends better, even here in America. We know things about brownies and goblins, but even some of our own southwestern or just American folklore we don't know as well, which is kind of sad. So I try to include some of those in my books. I mentioned the other day I put the Snallygaster in one of my books. Um, and when I was doing research for that, I discovered that one of the Fallout games put Snallygasters in it, which I thought was great. Somebody else must have been a fan of that ridiculous legend. And I love that people always ask me which things I make up and which things come from legends, and then I make them try to guess, and they always think I made up something from a legend. I know in Earth Dragons, I put this creature in called the Grootslang, which I hope I'm saying properly, um, which is essentially like a giant cobra-esque sort of snake, and I mean really big. But it has the head of an elephant, and I did not make it up. It is from African mythology, and they're supposed to eat elephants and dragons and things like that, which I think is pretty funny. So um, that was a challenge because this book is a little silly, but with a lot of my other field guides, I try to make them pretty serious as far as the writing and the art, and it's hard to seriously draw like a giant snake with the head of an elephant. I don't think house cats are supposed to eat cactuses. um, I know javelina can eat cactuses because they can digest them properly, but I think that's probably pretty bad for like a standard domestic cat to eat one. Our kitten was trying to eat everything today, and since it's sort of her adoption birthday, I let her have some special treats, but chocolate cake is still out because it can make cats and dogs very sick, so she didn't get any. She was not happy about that. Or about not getting any of our spaghetti and meatballs that we had for lunch. This guy is coming along pretty good. Yeah, sometimes animals can surprise you. Our my dog was one of a litter of dogs that we had, so we had their parents, and my dog's mom would eat everything. So we had to start, and she would get up like on top of. I mean, for a chocolate lab, she could somehow reach up on top of a 5, 6 foot high level. So the only place you could maybe put something safe from her was on top of the refrigerator. So everything had to go into cabinets or those sorts of places to keep them away from her. And this one time, my dad left something out, and so there's our dog, and our dog starts coughing, and we're like, she's coughing up something. What did she eat? And she coughed up the entire lid of a Haagen-Dazs ice cream container, intact. Like, how did that happen? Like, a Labrador Retriever is not that big. I still don't understand how her stomach did that. Um, that yeah, she lived to be, gosh, at least 16, which is pretty old. My dog, who was her daughter, she passed away 5 years ago, and she was 14, so she lived a long time too. And she is the sweetest dog. And I really miss having a dog now, but they're a lot more expensive to feed and a lot more expensive medicine wise. And then if I do go to conventions, I can just have someone stop in once or twice a day to feed cats. That's a lot easier than a dog that actually has to go outside for walks and things like that. So we've stuck with cats, but sometimes I miss having a big floofy dog. And one of our cats really misses her. She's never been the same. She used to sleep next to the dog, so I think she's never forgiven me. She thinks I took the dog away. There we go. Looking pretty good. And the last thing I do is some highlights, and I think I'm going to have to break down and order some of this ink online because I'm really running low, and like it won't even come out from the eyedropper in here anymore. I have to kind of like dip into the bottle and hope I get some out, which is, I mean, there's like a good 1/4 inch though at the bottom, so I can still get it out. It's just kind of awkward, but I should probably just order it online. It just bothers me that it's like $3 or $4 more expensive. It's not like I go through ink that fast though, so this is white acrylic ink, and I just use this to kind of add those little details. In fact, I'll zoom this in a little more. Let's see. I'm just gonna get this to zoom in and position a little bit better. There we go. I don't know if you guys can see that better, but try to show a little more of what it looks like when I add highlights. And I find this really useful on things like mermaids or fish, where you've got shiny scales because they're wet. And I said this in past videos, you can also use like a masking fluid that you paint on, and then you paint and then you peel it off. It won't damage the paper. And then it protects the weight of the paper under it. But then you really have to know exactly where all of your highlights are going to be, and I don't always know that. I'm like, I know like this with the mug handle, I was going to leave white there and kind of a lighter spot here, so I don't need to use white paint there. And yeah, it's the little spots on the eyes and in the face that really, that pop of life. It's always the reflection in the eye that really brings it to life and kind of adds that finishing touch. He looks so happy. He just wanted to bite this tea bag. It was his dream, and he got to do it. And then he probably got yelled at by whatever human this cup belonged to. But it's a great way to add scales. You can also use white gel pen. You can even use colored pencil. It's just you can't paint over those things because colored pencil, at least Prismacolors, are wax based. So that can be a little weird when you're trying to paint over it. I've also done some cool things with ink-based pencils where you actually wet the pencil and it turns into ink. And I should show some sketches with that at some point. We'll try to do something with that. But I was really happy I got to stream. Yeah, he does. He looks really happy. He's like, yay. I was really happy I got to stream this morning and show one of my paintings without ink. And then I'm getting to show this one with them. And the one this morning was actually much cuter than this. If you guys didn't see it, I think I have it here. It is this freaking adorable, cute lemon lime griffin who everyone wanted to have as a pet this morning. And I actually like both looks. I love the kind of inked look. It's a little bit comic booky. And then I love the softness of just doing all the outlines in watercolor too. I enjoy working both ways. This way has an advantage because I get art for a coloring book as well. So this drawing was already scanned before I added color, and it will appear probably in volume 6 of the coloring book. I don't think I got it done in time for volume 5. I was trying to remember what went in 5 that's funding now, but I think this was about a week late when I inked this. But volume 5 has one of my favorite pieces I have done all year, which is the town made out of teapots where the gnomes live. They're teapot gnomes. And that one was really fun, and I got to put it in the coloring book, and then I also got to do a color version of it. It was a challenge because I didn't really know how to construct an entire town out of teacups and teapots, so I did a lot of Google image searching for fairy houses made out of teapots and just things for ideas, vintage teapots for the shapes and stuff like that. That's a lot of fun when I get to do projects like that. He's pretty close to being done. I think we'll wrap him up in the next 3 or 4 minutes. Thank you guys for coming to hang out with me. I think it's kind of cool I get to do this because usually I go do this at the coffee shop and talk to all the regulars, and I've been missing that. There's always a few people who think it's really bad that I paint dragons, though. I used to paint at a coffee shop downtown in Tucson when I first moved here before I ended up living a little more on the east side. And I was there on a Sunday morning, and a lady came over. I guess she probably just finished up at church, or she said, I see you painting here all the time, and I wanted to tell you, I think you're really talented, but you need to learn to paint something other than monsters. And I think I was painting something like this, like an adorable baby dragon. And I was like, okay. I've definitely painted my share of scary things, but I'm not sure a cute, adorable baby dragon was a monster or why that lady felt the need to tell me that. But I guess there are always people who feel the need to tell you those sorts of things, and you try to have a good laugh about it. And I never know how to react in person, like when at the moment that's happening, though, because I always try to be polite. But sometimes those sorts of things take me by surprise. I think you guys have all heard the story about how I got yelled at one of the anime cons a few years ago because I was selling oracle cards and I was not a certified psychic. And the lady in question said she was going to report me to the convention staff, who were all friends of mine, so I was fine with that. But I was like, I've never even heard of a certified psychic. If this is something that you've heard of, it's probably a scam. um, and oracle cards are not even psychic based, they're just intuition based, which is something that everyone has. So I thought that was pretty funny. Oh, I've definitely done my share of monsters. If you haven't seen it, one of the paintings in the new 300-page book is both cute, I guess cute, and absolutely terrifying. And we actually kept that painting because Daniel's the one who insisted I put it in there. And it's a baby Wendigo, so it's like a carnivorous man-eating cannibal baby. Oh, there he is. Yeah, that's your fault. Didn't know he was watching me. I thought he was watching weird anime in the other room. Okay, I think I'm about done with this guy. Otherwise, I could just sit here and fiddle with him all night, but I think he's pretty much done. Did you finish the weird anime you're watching in the other room? Hey, I did that color in an hour, almost exactly. I'm pretty proud of that. That's a lot faster than. Is this like when I would have chat conversations with my brother, even though we lived in the same house, and we'd be on like IM. What was it back in the day? It was either AOL or ICQ. Like, I'm like one door away, but okay. But yeah, and then I have a whole hour before all the dancey parties start, which I'm hoping to see some folks at later. Now you guys have been like popping in and out of the chat room. So yeah, there were a lot that are monsters not. She's not doing like a tea party. She's doing like an event. It's not like a big public event. She's doing like a Netflix thing for like a couple of close friends where we're just gonna. She's calling it like the Ascendants, and we're going to watch Jupiter Ascending. Um, but at the same time, Plastic Disease, and that's at 7, is starting um, her Halloween stream, and I don't know how long that's running for. And then a little later in the evening, Vamp Feline is doing a stream. So I'm sure she'd love it if you'd like leave her a message. I think she does tea parties. Oh gosh, I want to say on Facebook. Are you on her Temporal Exchange Facebook? Because that's the one she does them on for Patreon subscribers. And I'm a subscriber just at $1 a month, and I get invites to those. And I think they're usually on like Fridays, but I think she's just been streaming a lot. Yeah, Friday is Tea Party. So I think she's probably doing something then for her birthday too. I feel really bad we can't actually spend her birthday with her. Especially because we tried to get her here for Christmas one of the years, and she was all set to come over and made fudge and everything, and then she got really sick and couldn't come. So I feel like um, we just have a jinx when it comes to celebrating things with her. Um, but I told her I want to paint her cat Cake at some point, either in steampunk or real form, because Cake is a long-haired cat, and I never get to do those. So I want to do that for her for free as a birthday slash friend gift at some point this year. So hopefully she'll like that. Yeah, there's lots of streams, which is awesome. And I'll probably be doing, I don't know what other things you guys would like to see. I know I've done some clockwork, but I have, let me find it here. I have this guy who needs to have paint added to him as well. He's one of the commission pieces I'm doing clockwork pet portraits on my website. You can go buy them and send me a photo of your pet, and then I do this. And you can choose whether you want black and white like this or color, and this one is going to have color added. So if people are interested, I can kind of stream adding color to Lexington here. I try to always put the cats' names in. And all these cats are also appearing in a future coloring book of mine. So there's at least 4 new clockwork cats coming. I don't know why all the pet portraits I've been hired to do have been cats. I'm hoping someone will get me to do a dog again or a fish or something really weird. That'd be fun because I like doing all the different animals. But hopefully I will be back and do more streaming for you guys soon. And I hope you all have a good night. And again, if you guys have any questions, I'm always happy to answer them. My website is raredragons.com, and then my Twitch page lists that. And all of my social medias, I have Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. I have a Discord server that I keep an eye on. You can always ask me questions there. You can send me an email. I'm obviously around doing this all day, so I usually see messages when they come in and try to get back to people within a couple of hours if possible. So, okay, I hope you guys have a good night, and thanks for hanging out. And maybe I'll see you guys in like an hour at Plastic Disease's dance party. Yay! She's going to play spooky Halloween music for us tonight, so it should be really fun. Thank you.